How do you top your last video? A Disneyland critique that by far and away was your most successful video? Obviously, by covering a small, regional amusement park no one's ever heard of that's 3,000 miles away.
Hanging with Stitcher, chocolate bar, Kev Cage needs a life. Buffy with Burner, Squishy with Bar, Kev Cage needs a life. Kev Cage needs a life, yeah.
What's up? It's Kev Cage. Good seeing you. And today we're going to talk about Adventureland in Farmingdale, New York.
Before I get started, in a sad and almost unbelievable coincidence, as I was looking for a picture to drop into this edit, I saw that Adventureland was in the news for an altercation between two parties that apparently knew each other. It got violent and left at least one person seriously hurt. I won't get into the incident further because this isn't about that, but it did feel weird posting this video without at least acknowledging that it happened. The parks are supposed to be escapes from reality, and while any place that has that many people visiting is bound to have an incident at some point, it's a bummer that it happened, and I hope and trust that the park will institute some better security policies. Okay, that being said, welcome to Adventureland. For decades, it's been a staple of growing up in Long Island, so much so that a guy who worked there for a summer made a whole movie about it. And while Adventureland isn't particularly notable for any reason, and I only know about it because my wife grew up a few minutes away from it, it's the perfect example of what a regional amusement park should be. The vast majority of the park-going public can't get to Orlando or Southern California all that often, or at all, so it's important to have these little escapes in your own backyard. It's why I'm hopeful about the Six Flags and Cedar Fair merger, and why I love that Universal is trying out a smaller, more kid-friendly place in Texas. The more access we have to these parks, the better, and when the companies are actually trying, they can secure a loyal fan base and be a core part of people's lives. And I think Adventureland puts in a little bit more effort than you would expect from a place like this. Their signature ride, Turbulence, is actually a pretty solid spinning coaster, especially when you consider it's like 15 feet away from overlooking the parking lot of the local Target. Alright, that brings us to Alfie, the mascot of Adventureland. And it's not just a guy in a costume. They have really committed to the bit with Alfie. He is everywhere. He's on the people dryer, or whatever that thing is, that reminds you not to sit. He's on the top of this ride. He doesn't need to be there. It's a regular flat ride. But there he is. The plush version of him is also strung throughout this railroad which goes around the perimeter of the park. Granted, each of the Alfies that you see are in varying degrees of disrepair, but, you know. A great part of Adventureland is flat rides that look like they haven't been updated since the 1960s. It's a core, unmistakable aesthetic that really adds to the charm, because it's not falling apart, it just looks old. It's clean, but it's old. Every classic carnival game that you could imagine, even the Frog Bog has a slowly spinning frog proudly sitting atop it. Look at that ladybug thing. That's not even the name of the ride anymore, but man, does that bring you back. Then of course they've got this amazing food court that was probably last updated in 1988, I'm going to say. The fonts, the pictures, it's like that tone that is kind of faded, but not really. It's just like a weird shade of blue. Look at that blue tile backsplash with the most garish and unappetizing photos of food. Still, man, so good. They've themed the table. That's something they didn't have to do. Then outside, you run into another staple of local amusement parks. Unlicensed characters on full display. But even they have Adventureland branding in slowly, increasingly uncomfortable locations. Here you've got the Midway Marketplace that includes Tony's Tavern with exorbitantly priced beers for a place like this. I guess it's okay. It's supposed to be a place for kids, so if $16 beers are discouraging people from getting wasted, probably a good call. And not only does Tony's Tavern boast its own koozie, it has sweatshirts, other merch, and they've got their own Adventureland beer. This is a regional theme park, or I should say amusement park, that has its own beer, Adventureland. In addition to the flat rides, they have the aforementioned Turbulence and this other kind of coaster thing called the Fireball. It's fine. It's a bigger thrill for some of the older kids. I went on it. It's still fun. I should mention that both of these rides also have Pitbull and somebody else singing their songs I shouldn't say singing their songs, but their songs play the audio as you are going up the lift hill. Amazing. And unlicensed. You can win a season pass in the arcade. That's pretty cool. Alfie with even more presents still, not just on these collector's cups, but proudly there on the wall, right beside the Pearl Fishery. Then you've got the First Aid Center and the, Ask Questions area, and they've themed it to City Hall. They didn't have to do that. It could just be a brown building, but they're trying. Even the bumper cars are named after the highway that the Adventureland is located on. It very easily could just be bumper cars, but no, this is the Route 110 bumper cars. And more Alfie! All in all, for a place that's pretty small and really has no reason to try or be any good, it does seem like Adventureland has its heart in the right place. It's dated, sure, and maybe nothing special in a lot of places, but they're adding new rides, like this one, the Moon Chaser. The sound of the brakes would never have you know that it was new, but it's new to them. And they're expanding even further. Like this thing, coming in 2025, the Wave Twister. They have a video board that's showing you a prototype of how the thing is going to work. California Adventure used to have the Blue Sky Cellar. They don't even have that. Adventureland is doing better at promoting their new projects than Disney is. Unbelievable. And if the video wasn't enough to get you, they've got a whole description on the side of it to tell you exactly what's coming. The first in Long Island? Yeah, that's how you do it. There are, of course, some weird regional quirks, like this plaque that wants to honor people who donated to keep it alive during the closure during COVID, but you feel like just skews that line of getting maybe a hair too weirdly political about it. And then right there, under the proud Alfie statue, standing tall as our watchful guardian of Adventureland, we see the park's mantra, which is way more sweet than it has any right to be. The memories you create with your children will be your greatest legacy. Adventureland is honored to help create those family memories. Alright, well, you don't need to have kids to have fun there, but still, heart's in the right place. Would I recommend traveling from afar to visit a place like Adventureland? No, not necessarily. But it's the spirit of these things all over the country, whatever your Adventureland might be, that makes it great. Personally, I have ties to the area, so this place does feel a little homey and more welcoming than it probably should, but I have to give it credit for trying. It's a place that could be taking the easy way out, just trying to be exploitative because they know theme parks can make money, but they're trying to take it a little further, to make it a nice experience and to be sort of there for its residents, which I think is a great thing. Whether your Adventureland is this one right here in New York, or if it's somewhere else, anywhere else in the country, remember, if you're lucky enough to be at a place like Adventureland, you're lucky enough. See you next time.